Hello, welcome to Chapter 14, Lessons 8 and 9. Today I'm going to put together our lessons on triangles and quadrilaterals, just because it's talking about three-sided figures and four-sided figures. And classifying them, today for triangles, we are going to classify them by the measure of their angles. So there's two ways to classify triangles. One way is angles, and those are right triangles, acute triangles, and obtuse triangles. And then there's another way to classify triangles that we will get to next year. If you were in my class last year, we did it last year. That is by sides. So that's where we talk about scalene, which is triangles that have 0 sides that are the same length. Isosceles. Ooh, it's only going to let me move up the words. Okay. Isosceles, C-E-L-E-S. Isosceles, which is 2 sides that are the same. And then equilateral. A-T-E-R-A-L, equilateral triangles that have all 3 sides the same. Okay, so there's 2 ways to classify them. Today we're talking about the angles. And then for quadrilaterals, all quadrilaterals have 4 sides, 4 angles. Okay, so today we're going to kind of look into what are the different characteristics of their sides and angles and that sort of thing. There are many different kinds of quadrilaterals. All right, so for example 1, we have the sandwich. First, we're going to start off triangles, then we'll go quadrilaterals. The sandwich is cut in half. Classify the triangle represented by the half sandwich as right. If there's one right angle, it's a right triangle. Acute, all angles are acute. Or obtuse, one obtuse angle. So we're going to determine if any of the sides are perpendicular. All right, so determine if any of the sides are perpendicular. Yep, look at this here. In order to have perpendicular lines, all we have to have is 2 that meet at a right angle. So it doesn't always have to look like this or this. It could just be this, and that also counts perpendicular lines. So anyways, a right triangle has 1 right angle. How many right angles are there? 1. The 2 sides that form the right angle are perpendicular, yep. Okay, an acute triangle has 3 acute angles. How many acute angles are there here? There are 2, so it's not acute. An obtuse triangle has 1 obtuse angle. How many obtuse angles are there? 0, so this is a right triangle. So here we go. An obtuse triangle has 1 obtuse angle. That's an angle that's larger than 90 degrees. So for example, if I went straight up here, which is really hard to do. Like here, go here, boop. And then if I went straight up, see, why is it going up there? 90 degrees would be about there. Okay, so you can see that one's larger. That would be 1 obtuse angle. An acute triangle has 3 acute angles, and a right triangle has 1 right angle. The 2 sides that form the right angle are perpendicular. Okay. Another key concept, vertices and line segments in triangles. A triangle has 3 vertices. That's 1 point is called a vertex. If you're doing a plural of a vertex is vertices, okay? Okay, so here we go. We have 3 vertices, A, B, C. We have line segment AB, line segment BC, and line segment AC. Okay, so let's use that information and see what we've got here. Classify the triangle as right, acute, or obtuse, and identify the vertices and line segments of the triangle. So here we have a triangle. I'm noticing this is acute. But this one, here would be my right. This one's larger than a right. So this is an obtuse angle. So this is an obtuse triangle then. because it has one obtuse angle. There are how many vertices? 3. List them below. Vertices LM, MP, comma, PL. Okay, there are 3 line segments. Oh, bummer, I did my line segments. I'm going to put an arrow. My vertices are L, P, and M. Those are the vertices. And then my line segments, I'm going to move down there. Is it possible for a triangle to have a pair of parallel sides? No. You would need 4 sides in order to have 2 sides that would be parallel, because then it would be an open, right? If I had 2 parallel sides and I closed one, this is an open shape, which means it cannot be a polygon, which means it cannot be a triangle. Classify the triangle as acute, right, or obtuse. Determine how many sides are perpendicular. This is an obtuse angle, so this triangle is obtuse. 0 sides are perpendicular. If they are perpendicular, then we know right away it's a right triangle. Identify the perpendicular sides of each right triangle. So here's how we do that. We'd say line segment VZ is perpendicular to line segment ZX. Okay. And here, line segment KM is perpendicular to line segment MQ. All right. Classify each triangle as acute, right, or obtuse, and how many sides appear to be perpendicular. So really, typically, if a side is perpendicular, they're going to show you it's perpendicular by putting that on there. So this is a right triangle. Right triangle. And how do I know? Because how many sides appear to be perpendicular? Sides. So if this is a side and this is a side, we would say 2 sides are perpendicular. Okay. 2 sides are perpendicular to each other, so therefore it's a right triangle. This little guy right here, this would be where right is, so it's bigger. This is an obtuse triangle. 0 sides are perpendicular. AR, there we go. Okay, can a triangle have 2 30-degree angles? Can they have 2 30-degree angles? Yes. Yes, 2 30-degree angles. So here's what they're asking. The angles inside of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so 180 degrees, every single triangle, if you cut all the angles off, they add up to 180 degrees. So could 2 be 30 degrees? Yes. Could 2 be 60 degrees? So 60 and 60 is 120, that's less than 180, so yes. Yes, we can have 2 60-degree angles. Could you have 2 90-degree angles? So if I need 3 angles equals 180 degrees, and 2 of them are 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. That would mean our last angle is 0 degrees. We can't do that. No, we cannot have 2 90-degree angles because the last angle would have to be 0 degrees, which is just like a flat line, which would be no angle at all, so that means can't have it. Okay, draw a line to match each vocabulary term to its example. Let me scooch up here. Whoa, I got a lot down there. Which one of these is an acute triangle? Well, I drew on there. Okay, which one's acute? This little guy right here is a cute little triangle. It's got 3 cute little angles. Obtuse, obtuse. Right there. And right here, which is an acute triangle. Obtuse angle, right triangle. Oh, A. A is an acute little triangle. All right, let's scooch on to practicing quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals are any shape that have 4 sides. Okay, so it does not have to be a square, does not have to be anything really, as long as it has 4 sides. So here we go. We have a speed limit sign represents a quadrilateral. Classify the angles formed by the quadrilateral. We notice they're all marked right angles. Determine if any of the sides are parallel. Okay, so there are 4 right angles, 0 acute angles, 0 obtuse, they're all right. Okay, determine if there are any parallel. The top and bottom sides are parallel, and the left and right sides are also parallel. So both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Since there are 4 right angles and the sides that form each right angle are perpendicular, so there are how many pairs of perpendicular sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sides form perpendicular angles. Okay. Notice that the opposite sides are also equal length. Quadrilateral with 4 right angles, opposite sides of equal length, opposite sides parallel is called a rectangle. A rectangle is a special kind of quadrilateral. Okay, so now we kind of get into our what qualifies each shape to be what it is. So in order to be a parallelogram, you need to have opposite sides equal in length and parallel. In addition, opposite angles have the same size. So this angle is congruent to this angle. Congruent is just a fancy word of mean equal to, exactly the same. And then this angle is congruent to this angle. Okay, so we have opposite angles are congruent, opposite sides are congruent, and parallelogram. Now a rectangle follows all the rules of the parallelogram, but it also has to have 4 right angles. Okay, so a rectangle is a special parallelogram that has 4 right angles. And then a rhombus also follows the rules of parallelogram, not rectangle, but parallelogram, because a rhombus has 4 congruent sides like a square, but it does not have 4 90-degree angles like a square. Okay, so rhombus follows parallelogram's rules, and it has to have 4 equal sides. Rectangle follows parallelogram's rules and has 4 right angles. And square has to follow all of the rules. A square has to have 4 right angles, 4 equal sides, opposite sides are equal and parallel. So a square is a very special quadrilateral. It has to follow all the rules. Okay, and then there's trapezoid that's kind of its own deal. Trapezoid has 1 pair of parallel sides, whereas parallelograms have 2. Now, let me show you a fancy little diagram that I love to use. Here it is. This diagram helped me a lot when I was learning about quadrilaterals, so I hope it helps you a lot. Okay, so we start with quadrilaterals at the top. So that means everything below this is a quadrilateral. Okay, so first off, when we're learning about quadrilaterals, we're going down. Quad means 4 laterals sides. Okay, so we can split between 2. We kind of split 2 ways. 1 set of parallel sides, 2 sets of parallel sides. Okay, so we've got the 1 set are trapezoids. Most people say that's a trapezoid, which is true. But also this is a trapezoid because this side is parallel to that side. 1 set. That side's parallel to that side. Okay, so 1 set of parallel sides is called trapezoids, and 2 sets of parallel sides is called parallelograms. So these sides are parallel, and these sides are parallel to each other. So it's two sets of parallel sides. Then, after we figure out parallelograms, we split off again. So we've got, if we go this way, we've got the rhombus with 4 congruent sides, which is 4 equal sides. If we go the other way, we've got 4 90-degree angles, which is a rectangle. Okay, so a rectangle has to follow all the rules above, and so does a rhombus. So it has to have 2 sets of parallel sides, which is parallelogram, and 4 congruent sides. So this side is equal to this side, equal to this side, and equal to this side, all in length. Okay, there's no rules about a rhombus and its angles. It just has to have 4 congruent sides. And then we have the rectangle that has to have 4 90-degree angles. Okay, there's no rules about the rectangle sides other than, they have to be parallel. Opposite sides have to be parallel. But there has to be 4 90-degree angles. Okay, and then if we follow this even more down here, we get the square. Now, the square has to follow all the rules. Has to have 4 90-degree angles, 4 congruent sides, 2 sets of parallel sides, and then all the way up even to the quadrilateral, it says it has to have 4 sides. Okay, so they kind of come back together, and square has to follow all the rules. So I kind of liked this little diagram here that kind of goes through everything. Okay, so I would highly recommend you write this into your math notebook, because I guarantee I'm going to show it to you again next year, and then you can have it already in your brain and you don't have to relearn it because you didn't pay attention this year. There you go. So here we go. A rectangle, square, and a rhombus each have all of the attributes or characteristics of a parallelogram. Right? If we think back to our shape, they all had to be parallelograms in order to be a rectangle, square, or a rhombus. Classify the quadrilateral in as many ways as possible. So this one here, okay. The quadrilateral has opposite sides equal in length, which means it is, and opposite sides are parallel, so it has blank equal sides, 4, right? 4 of the sides are equal. So it is a rhombus. And if it's a rhombus, and we go up on our tree that you copied down because you paused the video and you wrote it in your notebook, if we go up on our tree, it is also a parallelogram. Right? Because if it has to follow parallelogram, it would also be a quadrilateral. And if we went even farther up from quadrilateral, it would be called a polygon. Okay, classify this quadrilateral as many ways as possible. So it is a, 4, okay, so it is a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. It is a parallelogram because it has opposite sides are parallel. 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel. It is a rectangle because it has 4 90-degree angles. It is also a rhombus because it has 4 equal sides. I probably wasn't supposed to put quadrilateral on there. And lastly, it is a square because it has 4 equal sides, 4 90-degree angles, and 2 sets of opposite sides that are parallel. So this square is like the granddaddy master of all shapes. It's like everything. Okay? So let's keep going. All right, so I added in my chart here so I could show you a little bit easier maybe. So this shape, does it have 4 90-degree angles and 4 congruent sides? Oh, I started at the top. So does it have 4 sides? Yes. Does it have 2 sets of parallel sides? Yes, so it's a parallelogram. Does it have 4 90-degree angles? Yep, so it's a rectangle. Does it have 4 congruent sides? Yes, so it's a rhombus. Does it have 4 90-degree angles and 4 congruent sides? Yes, so it is a square. Classify the quadrilateral as many as possible. This trapezoid, right? 1 set of parallel sides. Okay, here we go. We got the granddaddy again. So this is a square. I'll work my way from the bottom up from that graph that I was showing you, the table. Now, it's not a graph or a table, it's a tree. So we start with square, S-Q-U-A-R-E, square. And then we'd go up. It is a rectangle and a rhombus. And then if I go up again, it is a parallelogram. And I added it to this one too. So if we're looking at this guy right here, we have one set of parallel sides, so he is a trapezoid. And then this one, if we follow up, a square is a rectangle and a rhombus and a parallelogram and a quadrilateral. So the more farther down you get, it has to be everything that's above it. It has to follow all those rules. So if it's a square, then it is a rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram, and quadrilateral too. I think just they don't have us put quadrilateral because it says up here it's a quadrilateral, so it wants us to define the different types of quadrilaterals. Okie dokie. So classify a quadrilateral that fits each description. 4 right angles. Okay, so we have 4 right angles, so that's talking about a rectangle and a square. Opposite sides are equal in length and parallel. Okay, so still a rectangle and a square. Okay, so this quadrilateral, well, honestly, it's not a square because it didn't talk about the 4 congruent sides. So it's not a square, it is a rectangle. Okay, because if it does not, because it says opposite sides are equal in length and parallel, but does not say all 4 sides are equal in length. Okay, so we know that one's a rectangle. Okay, let's try the next one here. Okay, so the next one says, I'm supposed to draw it too. Boom. Okay, opposite sides are equal in length and parallel. So that's going to be our parallelogram here. And L-E-L-O-G-R-A-M. And how I know it is it does not talk about angles, does not talk about sides, how long they are. So we're just stuck at parallelogram. So this could be our parallelogram. And here we go, last page. Simon and Chaz each drew a quadrilateral with 2 sides that are 2 inches long and 2 sides that are 3 inches long. Their figures are not the same type of quadrilateral. What figures could they be? So we know that opposite sides are the same, but we don't know anything about the angles, but it didn't say that it could not be different types of angles. So I would say one drew a rectangle because that doesn't have any restriction, or that follows the side rules, right? It wouldn't be a square because square would have 4 congruent sides, rhombus would have 4 congruent sides. So it's got to be a rectangle and a parallelogram, because those are the 2 that follow that. Explain the difference between a parallelogram and a rhombus. Okay, a rhombus has 4 congruent sides, and a parallelogram doesn't have to. Okay, explain the difference between a square and a rectangle. So a square has 4 congruent sides, and a rectangle doesn't have to. How is a trapezoid different from the other 4 types of quadrilaterals you have learned about? So a trapezoid only has 1 set of parallel sides, and the rest of the quadrilaterals have 2. All right, which quadrilateral does not have opposite sides equal in length? Okay, squares do, parallelograms do, rhombus do, trapezoids do not, right? Opposite sides equal in length. Yeah, because if I have a rhombus that's like this side is not equal to this side. So, and this side does not equal that side either. So there we go. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed learning about triangles and quadrilaterals. Kind of a lot to fit in one video, but hopefully it was very informative. So we will talk to you later.